Hello one and all, and welcome to the 2 Hours of Suzuka by Chequered Simsports here. You're just joining us on this sunny day, but not for long because it will soon be night time as the teams drive from the hours of darkness into the sunrise at this beautiful Pacific gem of a circuit. It's been a while since we've been here, and we do love a bit of old Suzuka because it offers such a vast variety of corners and complexity as well. We've got, of course, the beautiful Sector 1, which ranges from turns 1 through to turns 6 and 7. Turn 1 itself offering loads of opportunities if you maximise the potential on the exit of that final corner. Get some really good overtaking situations. That is, of course, where Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost had their huge collision when they decided to finalise the championship standings in spectacular fashion, and then going through the S's as well. Great overtaking opportunities present themselves, all about that throttle management as you get the car turned in and find that extra tenth or two to get over the rest of the competition. Things get more technical as we enter Sector 2. A lot of gravel available, not very much runoff available at all, and if you decide to go wide at any point of this circuit, then you could be in for a nasty surprise. Then things slow down a bit or speed up as we go into Sector 3. You've got Spoon Curve, great or important corner, probably one of the most important here at Suzuka as well, because that will allow the cars to just catapult themselves down towards 130R, and of course we all know what that means, and that is a huge, massive corner. You do not want to get that wrong, otherwise you can be in for a lot of trouble. I'm your broadcast for today. My name is Matthew Sanson. I'm one of the admins here for Chequered Simsports. I'll be on my own from start to finish, but I will be bringing you the action live as much as I can, should I say. Sorry. It's been a while since I've been in the commentary box. As you can tell, I'm saying things about 3 times, but I'll try my best to keep things as smooth as possible for your time here today. So let's have a look at what we've got on the qualifying stage. It's already been 10 minutes elapsed, 30 minutes in total, and we've got a full grid of around 35-36 cars. And as you can see, it is Waveframe Esports that are currently leading the way at the moment with the best lap of 157.388 on the board. Amazing time set by the team there. Of course, they just took part in the 8 Hours of Silverstone, I believe it was, at VEC just a few, or yesterday even. Setting some good lap times there. Then we've got Luigi Russo for Go Team Racing in the number 7 car there, close second place, only a few hundredths of a second behind our pole position times. And it's the second of the Waveframe Esports car as well, 2.2 seconds adrift, but still within those podium positions. Just outside of that, we've got the number 8 from David Serra, and that is for DX Droids in their Porsche 911 RSR. Of course, a very quick car, not very well liked due to the fact that it hasn't got the best of tyres, but nevertheless it's going to be a very strong car here this afternoon. All depends on how well they can manage those tyres here, so definitely keep an eye out on that one as best you can. And there's quite a good mixture of cars here. Having said that, we've got loads of Mercedes, a few McLarens, BMWs. We did have a Radicals show up at one point, but I don't think they've made it to the grid, unfortunately. We've got Porsches, we've got Bentleys, great mixture of cars upon the grid today. And let's go continue through the order as well. We've got Cliff van der Vin, a regular here, and this is a very interesting car if you haven't just seen on the side of the machine there. Of course, this is a Corvette for those of you that aren't blind, but it's actually a recreation of a 1998 GT3 car, I think they said, if I remember correctly, which is a Porsche that ran at Le Mans. And it's I didn't know this at the time, and when I was creating the custom skin pack for this event, I was like, what on earth is this? I couldn't quite believe my eyes, because being for fairly serious sim races, we thought we can't have any abusive slogans or anything, but we left it down to a vote based on the fact that it was a real life paint scheme, or you know, a custom job that ran at Le Mans in real life. And guess what? They won. So we now have that 82 lovely Corvette, reminiscent of the Porsche 911 that ran at Le Mans in 1998, here at the 2 Hours of Suzuka. Here comes his teammate in the 57. They're currently sitting in 7th place for the Fair Racing team, driven by Pim van Ark himself. Got about 34 times on the board at the moment, but those are the top 5-6 cars. Then we've got Paul and Roberts just outside in P8. That is the Sim Apex car, the McLaren 720S. I have to say, a lot of BMWs up at the front end for the time being, instead of the usual prototypes. Of course, we have got balance of performance in effect here. So it's nice to see that we've got a variety of chassis up front. Waveframe Esports still leading the way, mind you, in those two BMWs. But yeah, usually it's the 720 that's dominating throughout the event, but we'll see how that pays out as the race unfolds, of course. Now, as mentioned before, we are... Oh, and there was a big moment there for Paul Roberts. Just missed out on that car that was spinning on top of the hill. Don't know how on earth he missed that one, but that was extremely heart-raising moment for him. But no collision made, so that is good news. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing here. Of course, it's going to be a very busy circuit. Join our Discord or our community and have a little look at our website. All the links will be in the description below if you do fancy taking a look at what we do here. Now, as mentioned, it will be a nighttime race, or starting in night, similar to what you'd see at the 12 Hours of Bathurst, and then with time acceleration they'll get around half an hour of nighttime driving, followed by the beautiful sunrise at this Japanese circuit. As for those of you that have driven Suzuka, you'll know that it is not for the light of heart. It is very challenging from start to finish. The only break you get is pretty much on the start-finish line and on the run down to 130R. But on the whole way down there, you're thinking about 130R itself, as we just saw Paul and Roberts come through, about how many ways you can probably screw it up and end your race. So a very important corner. Of course, that's one of the scariest places here. And we're going to go on board with one of the cars, if we can identify one that's going to do a fast lap time for us. In the meantime, Paul and Roberts now down into P10 with a 158.178 for that McLaren 720S. But still a decent time considering how many cars we have here today. So let's follow Lorenzo Risi then. He's currently going through Sector 2, about to come through to Spoon Curve, which is at the top end of the circuit. That's turns 13 and 14. And he's going to be doing his run down towards 130R. Hopefully we're going to be with him on one of his flying laps, but we'll have to wait and see. That's the 21 BMW. We'll go on to the bonnet camera to see what it's like to go around this magnificent circuit. So it's just coming up to Casio Triangle, which is a very important corner, very harsh on the curbs. Can unsettle the car, especially for the final corner, which is coming onto the start and finish straight. So here we go then underneath the Suzuka board. That's when the timer finally starts underneath the Chequered Simsports sign, and away we go. A lot of cars coming out of pit lane over to the left-hand side. Brake as late as you can. That grey piece of tarmac on the left is your braking reference. Down the gears and hug the inside curb as much as you can as someone joins and creates a bit of lag for us. But we're back underway again through the F's. This is where you need to stabilise the car. Throttle management is key, and you want to be essentially mid-corner, or mid-circuit rather, for the whole section, because it can really screw up the next corner if you do not do that. Over to the right hand side, quick flick to Dunlop curve. Accelerate as much as you can, use all of the tarmac, but don't get greedy, otherwise there's a nasty gravel trap waiting for you on the right hand side. Then it's Degner curve, turn 8. Once again, you can cut the inside quite aggressively. There's a small amount of runoff before you get swung underneath the bridge for turns 9. Into sector 2, coming towards the hairpin. It's all been fairly fast paced, but up till now you have to slam on the anchors and enter a whole new world, because it's one of the slowest corners here at Suzuka. And then back up to speed. Make sure you do not wheel spin the car, because you need to catapult the car down this long right-hander up towards Spoon Curve. Good overtaking opportunity around the inside or outside, depending on how well you swung it. And then braking. Carry the speed through as best you can. Little throttle management as you get over to the second of the left-handers, and then again maximize that speed on the exit, because it is vital to make sure that anyone behind you isn't going to get an advantage from that slipstream. Keep it on the right hand side, get ready for 130R, and then it's just a quick little brake, lift of the throttle, and then flick it left as quick as you can and get that car turned in, because if you do not, then it will really screw your day up. Into Casio, trying out aggressive on the curbs once again. really hurting and unsettling the car. Make sure it's settled before you reapply that throttle, and then down the hill, cut as much of the track as you can and across the line. Great lap there from the number 21. He actually retakes pole position as a result of that with a 1:57 dead. So really fast lap time there from Lorenzo Arisi for Wave Cream Esports. Now, you may be wondering why qualifying is so long. It's because there's so much traffic here this afternoon. 36 cars on the grid ready to do battle. And still 11 minutes remaining here before we go over to our warm-up session, followed by the race. Let's have a quick look outside the top 5 positions. Has anything changed last time we looked? Well, Andrea Riccelli has moved up into P2. That's the second of the Wave Cream Esports cars. So they're feeling fairly confident this time round, fairly dominant compared to the rest of the pack. Next car down is Luigi Russo, which is the driver for Go Team Racing, so another strong competitor, regular here at CFS, 1:57.4, so only a few tenths off that pole position, in fact 0.358 seconds off that pole position. Just outside of that, we've got David Serra for DX Droids by 0.4 seconds, and then Cliff van der Veen for the Fair Racing team is occupying that P5. Then we have Pim van Ark in P6, so another one of the Fair Racing team. So you start to see a lot of regular names here starting to pop up, and if we move outside of that, it's back to Go Team Racing again for P7. Then we have Joan Corfino for P8, that's the 92 from DX Droids. And then we've got Wesley Boycott in Alton Motorsports McLaren. They were quite a late entry here to this round, so it's nice to see them finding that pace early on and getting that McLaren up into those top 10 positions. Very good indeed. Then we've got Elias Fernandez in 10th place. He is the driver for DX Droids as well. So they've got quite a few entries here. I believe most of them are Mercedes cars. So very popular choice this round for Suzuka. Not too sure why, but that's the balance of performance package coming in and doing its job. And then just outside those top 10 positions, we've got Paul Robert for the 67 Sim Apex RT car. And in fact, he's just been moved down to P13, so a lot of cars coming across the line. That's been replaced now in P11 by Jan-Nicolas Viter for the F1 Bros Racing car. So he is now just shy of that pole position. Even Elias Fernandez, the person that was in P9, he's being pushed down the order quite a bit as well, as Tyne Lure for the Sim Apex RT65 has now moved up into P10. So a lot of changes going on here, a lot of the cars trying to get in those last minute changes. Having said that, we could probably still get another 3 to 4 laps in before we get to the end of qualifying. But of course that real road, that rubber, starting to settle into the track here and change the conditions ever so slightly. So you're going to see progressively faster and faster times before we finally go through to the race. Feel free to ask us any questions. Just talking about these on YouTube. We are live on Facebook, Twitch and YouTube, our 3 platforms that we like to broadcast to. If you have any questions about the race, what we do here at CFS, feel free to drop us a message. We'll try and get back to you as quick as we can. Let's have a look further down the order. Daniel Vidamari, a regular at CFS as well for Drive Game Seat Racing, and they're doing a brilliant job as well. Just shy of the top 10. I know that Porsche's got more in of it, but he's currently sitting in P15 at present, so it's a good mid-pack start for him, or just above the mid-pack range for that Porsche 911. We've got some great camera angles here at Suzuka as well, just thinking about it. Some really nice shots as they come through on the run down towards 130R. That Porsche engine screaming away. One of the best sounding cars in the GT3 pack, of course. Where's Daniel Vidamari going to come home with this time? It's an improvement up into P14. That's enough for him to be happy with for this particular run. No doubt he will go out once more before the end of qualifying, but that seems to be what he was looking for. Cliff van der Veen and the 84 still in pit lane. Thank God all of the rudeness of the car is currently not on display from that particular camera angle. And on board with now with Jan-Nicolas Viter as he comes out of pit lane. Currently sitting in P12. And this is the F1 Bros Racing McLaren 720S. Another great sounding car, very unique. All McLarens have that very, I wouldn't say weird sound, but you just know that it's a McLaren. It's very nice, very rumbly. And you of course got the exhaust coming out the top end of the bumper as opposed to at the bottom of the car, which makes it really spit out those flames when it does a downshift. Switching over to the bonnet cam. And the tax-free, why is the stream only in 720p available? That'll be on me, because it's been a while since I've been doing streaming. I'm usually in the role of race director here at CFS, but Dave decided that he wanted to race this time, so guess who got stuck with doing the live streaming? So I quickly chucked OBS together and everything set up, so unfortunately I didn't have time to do the pixels side of things, unfortunately. So 720 is the max that I can do for today, unfortunately, without restarting the stream, etc. But next time, if I have to do it again, at least this time I'll be ready. Anyway, we are on board with Nicholas Viter as he comes through 130. Oh, it takes a bit of curb. Choose that right up before coming into Casio Triangle. And we're about to start his flying lap now. Look at him going wide, trying to get a nice run down onto the start-finish trace. Wants to get as much high speed as possible before we enter turn 1. Beautiful circuit here at Suzuka, of course. And there's a bit of traffic coming out of pit lane. Is that going to impede his entry into turn 1? No, it's not. Just, oh, and he got sidetracked. See, that is the problem. As soon as those cars come out of that pit lane, you're just constantly looking at them and not your braking reference point, which, of course, as I mentioned, is that grey piece of tarmac on the right hand of your screen right now. That's what I always use anyway as a reference for when I need to start my braking and start my entry point. It's very well placed, almost as if on purpose. But, yeah, too much distraction going on there for Jan-Nicholas Viter. Gets it just too far turned in, too late. And unfortunately the rear let go of that McLaren and into the barrier. I'm not sure, well, I'm pretty sure he's not the only one to do that, and he won't be the last one to do that either here this afternoon. Simsports still in command at the moment with the 21 and the 68. The 21, Lorenzo Risi, 56.9, so he's got even quicker than his personal best last time we was looking, and he's knocked off an entire tenth of a second, which is a fair bit amount for these top guys. So he's still leading the way. His teammate 157.2, and Luigi Russo really starting to hamper that position as well, because he is also on a 57.2, just 0.02 of a second shy of taking that second place away from the Waveframe duo. David Serra is also very close as well. He's on a 57.5 for the DX Droids Mercedes. Oh, and a big spin here from the number 7 as he goes through Spoon Curve. Just got a bit greedy on that curbing on the outside lane, and he's retired back to pit lane for the time being. And we're now coming into the final stages of qualifying, ladies and gents. 3 minutes left. David Serra gets out of the way of one of the cars coming through. Just thinks, oh, this is a bad time, a bad moment for them. But he should be able to get one final lap in before we get to the end of this. As we can see, it's just shy of 2 minutes before the end of an entire lap, so including the warm-up, he should still be able to get one, potentially 2 laps in. Oh no, sorry, it will just be one silly more. Nice to see the Porsche up high on the scoreboards as well. And we'll go on board with David once he begins his outlap. Oh, and that's not going to happen anytime soon as he gets a bit greedy. That's his outlap as well, so very strange to see that happening. Usually very consistent driver, but maybe just a few cold tyres does take a few laps before they get into their optimal temperatures, but David Serra not making good of that last available run that he had available to him. Now this is interesting, the 13 is following one of the McLarens up ahead. Which one is that? It looks like maybe it's one of the Sim Apex cars. No, one of the WC racing cars. And coming across the start-finish line now, so he's going to get the slipstream of that car, whether or not he was on a flying lap. And he is, so he's got up to P5. Amazing run there by, I think it's Verhelpen. So he's now in P5, 157.3. So that really come into his own there on the final stages, just waiting for that optimal track position and track temperature. And it's really, really paid off. Last few runs now before we get to the end of qualifying. Let's quickly go through the results if we can. It doesn't want to load for me. That's wonderful. Thank you. So I was going to go through the standings, but it doesn't want to. So my apologies. So we'll just go through them as we see them then. Lorenzo Risi in P1 still with a 156.8. He's got even quicker. Andrea Riccelli in P2, 157.1. So he's extended his advantage ever so slightly over Luigi Russo, who is still on that 57.2. Then Cliff van der Ven in the 84 Corvette, 57.3, and then Guardi Verhelpen on that masterful last-minute dash to the finish line with a 57.373 as well. Then we've got David Serra for DX Droids in P6, Pim Van Aert for the Fair Racing team in P7, Twin Law in P8, and then we've got Wesley Boycott for Alton Motorsports in P9. Finishing off the top 10, we've got Elias Fernandez in that lovely DX Droids Mercedes as well, and he's just coming on to his last lap, I believe, as the checker flag is flown. Will he improve this time by, though? They are allowed to get to the checker flag. And does he improve this time by? No, he's still in P10, so no luck there for him to improve and go further up the order, unfortunately. But they're all coming across the start-finish line now. And there is your qualifying session, ladies and gents. So Lorenzo Risi once again taking pole position. Those two BMWs hanging on for dear life against the assault of Luigi Russo for Go Team Racing, but they managed just by the skin of their teeth. And we've already run through the top 10 positions. Then we've got Wesley Boycott just outside of that, Elias Fernandez and Paul Robert for Sim Apex RT. Paul Holt and Fair Racing in P14, and Juan Carlos Fernandez for DX Droids in P15. Moving on just outside the top 20, we've got Tony Jansen for Fair Racing and Max Scholten, his teammate, in 22. Houdini Racing with Thibault Lenertz and Chris Vacker for TCC Motorsport. And then another DX Droids with Adrian Blasco as well in 25th. Then on the last page of the results, we've got the last remaining up into 31st to 36 on screen for you. And that, ladies and gents, is qualifying for the 2 Hours of Suzuka. Giorgio Cirelli coming across the line just in the last few moments there for 31st place as he gets demoted onto the last final page with a 159.6. So that is very interesting. And then you've got Ben Corbin and Thomas Evans rounding out your grid for this afternoon. So we're just going to go for a small commercial break, ladies and gents. We will be right back with the action for the 2 Hours of Suzuka. Once again, they will be starting in nighttime conditions and going into the sunrise over this beautiful Japanese circuit. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back in a moment.
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now?
Hello, and welcome back to the live stream for the 2 hours of Suzuka. As you can see, it has now gone into pitch black darkness as we get the cars lined up onto the grid and ready to race. You've just been watching the qualifying session, 36 cars all lined up and ready to do battle, with Lorenzo Arisi and the Wave 3 Sports team taking those front two spots just by a hair's width from Luigi Russo in the Go Team Racing number 7 BMW. So it is a BMW lockout row at the moment, so really showing some pace and pretty much dominance over the rest of the field. If you go just outside of that, you've got Porsches, Corvettes and Mercedes as well, all in the mix. So very strong grid here this afternoon. Of course, we are watching the 2 hours of Suzuka, where we will get to see the sunrise over the circuit before the cars start their manual warm-up lap. So what we'll see in a few moments time is the 36 cars go round manually through the circuit of Suzuka.
Remind everyone to put their lights on, please. Lights on.
And that's just race control there, who's going to be monitoring the action as it unfolds, especially in those first few laps. Just reminding everyone to have their headlights on. And for those that you don't know, R-Factor 2 loves to disqualify drivers here who disobey the rules. So they are just starting their warm-up lap now. So the leader will just lead the pack down through the circuit of Suzuka at quarter speed, and then we will get racing underway. So let's just bring up the in-race settings then, if you're just joining the action right now. So leading the way is Wave 3 Esports with Lorenzo Arisi, as we just previously mentioned. Then it's Andrea Riccelli with his teammate, and then it's Luigi Russo for Go Team Racing. Cliff Van der Veen is just outside those podium positions, and then we have Guido Verhelpen for Go Team Racing as well. Then in P6 we've got Jean Coffino for DX Droids and David Serra alongside his teammate for the start, and then Jan Nicholas Viter for F1 Bros Racing and Pim van Ark for Fair Racing Team in 57 in P9. Then it's Gianni Vidamari, who came home really well in the last few closing moments of qualifying, just snatching that top 10 position. And then moving on to outside those top 10s, we've got Sim Apex RT with Torin Dur and Wellesley Boycott for Alton Motorsport in their McLaren 720S. Elias Fernandez in 13th place for the number 9, and then Paul Robert in P14 in 67. And then we have Paul Holt for Fair Racing Team, pretty much just coming ahead of the midway point of the pack in 15th place. Juan Carlos Fernandez for DX Droids in P16, and Quintin Foulard for Houdini Racing in that 98. I think it's the Audi or the Bentley, one of the two that they are driving here this afternoon. Colin Sanders in the Aston Martin in P18 in the number 11, and then Alejandro, I think it's Enamorado for DX Droids in P19. Oliver Diamond just on the dot at P20. Passionates No Fanboys is the name of the team, so that's going to be quite a mouthful for pronouncing that as the race unfolds. Then going outside, we've got Tony Jansen for Fair Racing Team as well, followed by his teammate Max Scholten in the 57. Thibault Lenertz in Houdini Racing, the 12 car this time. Then we have Chris Vaca for TCC Motorsports, Adrian Blasco for DX Droids, and then Leonardo Calderon with Crocodile Motorsports, followed by Andrew Parkinson in Track VR Racing in that P27. Then we've got Agiar Racing, which is one of the stock kins here, with Pablo behind the wheel for the 96, Thiago Souza for W3 Race in the 29th position, Giorgio Cirelli for Luminis, which is one of the stock skins as well for the Aston Martin. His is, I think, it's CRX Motorsports in the 60 car officially. And then we have Omar Miranda in Crocodile Motorsports, that's the number 4 this time, and that's in 31st place. Then it's MSC Hurton Sim Racing for MSC Certain Team Racing Motorsports, and then Ramiro Serafin for W3 Race. So, is that correct? I've read that correctly. The 32 is being driven by the same man who has the same name as the team itself. So yeah, some issues there. Rodrigo Vieira for W3 Race in 34th place. Ben Corman in Luffield Lunatics. And then Thomas Evans for Viper Virtual Racing. So that is your grid and your lineup for this race, ladies and gents. It's going to be a pretty hectic start as we start under the Hours of Darkness. And they're just coming down towards 130R, where we will await the command from Race Control to begin the action. There's a huge look. There's not even any tarmac visible as they come down towards one of the final corners here. Of course, things are going to be much more fast-paced when they come by this corner next time round. And we're just now waiting for the start. He's on board with Lorenzo Risi as he comes into Casio Triangle, using that pit limiter. It sounds like he's on pit limiter, but biding his time. Of course, the timer is 2 hours and 1 minute, so they get 5 minutes extra to complete this warm-up lap manually. And now coming on to the start-finish straight now.
All drivers prepare for green flag.
And we're just getting the confirmation from race control. Who's going to get off first? Who's going to be able to make advantage before they enter turn 1? The pole sitter is actually on the outside line, so that's going to be a disadvantage for him. Hopefully no Ayrton Senna moments, but we are now
All drivers, this is race control. Green, green, green.
And that's the start of the race, and here we go. All the cars panning out left, right and centre, trying to find an advantage. Here we goes. Cliff van der Veen on the outside, trying to get a squeeze onto second place, trying to look for that inside line, but now Alonso Risi entering turn 1 in the lead. Wave 3 Motorsport hold it together as they enter the first sector, and they hold that second position. In the meantime, though, behind there's a battle for P3 as Go Team Racing holds the inside line in the form of Luigi Russo. Cliff van der Veen tries his best in that 84 Corvette to squeeze through, but no luck there. Was it David Amari? He's made a huge amount of ground. But starting from P10, he makes it up into P5 on the start of the race. So amazing, incredible stuff from that Porsche driver there as he goes right up into those top-looking positions. Go Team Racing still in P6 as well in the 13 car. He's under attack from DX Droids. Both 2 Porsches right behind him, flashing their headlights as they come down for the first time into Sector 2. Look, for a moment he was about to get onto the gravel, but held it together nicely and it's still underway. Looking at the gaps here, we've got, I don't think we've had any incident. In fact, we've got Wesley Boycott for Autumn Motorsports. He's fallen down the order in the McLaren 720S. They've got Lynette's as well. He's gone down the order. So a few incidents occurring up and down, but nothing that we've seen on screen just as of yet. And for those that are wondering, of course, it is there's 2 ways that teams can complete this event. One as a solo driver, or the other is a team of 2, so they do 1 hour each, and pretty much the 1 pit stop that's going to occur here today. And if you're wondering what happens if they do have a crash and they want to report something, well, they post it after the race and it is reviewed and implemented into the results. In the meantime, Lorenzo Risi making good headway against Go Team Racing. They're both charging into the distance. Gap now up to 1.2 seconds as they come through 130R. Of course, it's going to be fairly dangerous to get those tyres up to temp in these conditions. It's 17 degrees out on circuit at the moment. So it's going to be a while before they can really start to hammer down and push. This is pretty much, it's prime temperatures for the drivers here. It's just on the cups of the sunrise. So it's a good time to just get the car ready to go. And once that sun starts to come up and those temperatures start to rise, they can really start to push the car and hammer down on those lap by lap times. A lot of cars going through turns 1 and 2 now, as we can see. A lot of changes up and down the order. Daniel Vidamari still in P5 at the moment. Let's go and have a look at the mid-pack, because there's Elias Fernandez in a right old duo between the DX Droids car. In fact, they're all his teammates coming through Sector 1 at the moment. They're trying to get past the Go Team Racing BMW.
All drivers caution, there is a slow car on the exit of 130R.
So it's one of the cars going very slowly at 130R. So not too sure which one of those that is, but unfortunately some people have suffered at the start of this race. No doubt we'll find out about that after race control reviews them. But yeah, look at this duo between the DX Droids car and Go Team Racing. You've also got, I think it's Paul Roberts behind just by a car length in the 67 McLaren 720, and they're all coming out of Sector 2 now, or the hairpin should we say. Running down towards Spoon Curve. All the cars glistening and reflecting lovely once off and under with the headlights going, showing off those custom paints, but we'll get
drivers,
to see more
slow
there.
car is cleared off 130R.
So it's just race control saying that the instant is now clear. It's a good thing we didn't go into a code 80. Most of the traffic was pretty much coming through Sector 1 at the time, which is good luck for them. And here comes that McLaren now. Who's going to be able to get advantage here as they come down towards 130R? One of them seems to have a little peak, but thinks better of it. Still single file. That's the most sensible thing to do. Oh, the Mercedes goes a bit wide. Can Paul Roberts maximise his potential here as he comes under braking? Pretty much eats the curve alive as he comes through Casio Triangle. seem to have lost a bit of ground. That car, that's Casio Triangle. We said that in qualifying, that curbing can be very harsh to the car, really unsettles the rear, and you want at that point to be as settled as possible. So we're going too wide into the first corner. That's the Go Team Racing against the Porsche as well. So this is Guido Verhelpen and David Serra. They made a slight touch of the rear bumper, but no spins or major incident, luckily for both teams, and he's actually got through. So that's the BMW from Go Team Racing moving down the order now into P8. Great driving there. We did say it was a good overtaking opportunity, and we weren't kidding when we said that. Things settling down just ever so slightly now as we come through onto lap 3 of our race now. 1 hour and 55 minutes still remaining here, so still a long way to go, of course. Lorenzo Ricci setting the purple lap last time by at 2 minutes 0.3, so just goes to show how quick they are pushing these cars now. But a few DNFs already, as you can see on the board. Looks like maybe 3 or 4 DNFs, of which is, oh no, Thomas Evans is one of them, Thibaut Lenertz and Pim van Ark as well are all retired, I believe, so they're showing up on the list as not finishing the race. Oh, Thibaut Lenertz is still in the pit, so he might be undergoing repairs. Oliver Diamond is not finishing this race either, so he's another casualty at the early stages of this race, which means we've got a total running order of 33 cars. So that is a shame. But we did say at the start of the race that things can get hairy pretty quickly here at Suzuka, especially coming into turn 1, and that is certainly the case. New lap time from Lorenzo Ricci, just trying to break into the 159s as best he can. 2 of the cars coming out of the pit lane now. How this is going to affect things, we have to wait and see. Blue flags will be out. That is one of the DX Droids cars. Catching up already, so Crocodile Motorsport also involved. He's decided to get out of the way, but this is going to be really hectic now as they try to get through as best they can. So that is Omar Miranda trying to just do his best to keep out of the way, which he does so. Brilliant job by the Crocodile Motorsports driver there. Doesn't get anyone tangled up in any unnecessary work. There's a battle going on between the 2 GX Droids. That's Elias Fernandez, I believe, in that Mercedes. Yes, it is going through the hairpin. They're trying to battle with the BMW from Go Team Racing once more. Nice bit of teamwork here. It's a bit unfair on the BMW, in all honesty. Go Team Racing, his teammate is far up the road in P3. And now he's pretty much found himself in a DX Droid sandwich. They've had 3 cars now get past. Gotta wonder maybe if they were doing that on purpose, maybe slowing the BMW up in some degree. But now it's Paul Robert who is behind in P10. For that team, doing really good work at getting all those cars further up the order. A mistake. Oh, big, huge lift off there. That was David Serra, I believe. He had to use the runoff area. Just got too much curb onto the Casio Triangle, and that entire left-hand side of that Porsche went airborne for at least a good second. Don't know if that's caused any damage to that Porsche or not, but that means the BMW was able to get through. Compromised his teammate ever so slightly as Guido Verhelpen tried to have a little peek down the inside. And yeah, 3 DNFs at the bottom of our list there, the 35, 57 and the number 5 for you. There's battles going on up and down the order. I can't keep track of it all in all honesty, but here on board with one of the other DX drivers, Juan Carlos Fernandez. He's doing battle, trying to get in as close as possible to the top 10. He's ahead of him is Paul Holt for the Fair Racing team. And in P13, we've got one of the other DX cars. They've got so many, and they're doing quite well here as well as a pack. Some great camera angles here at Suzuka Circuit. Really great angles to capture all the action as it unfolds. Going to our leaders for a small moment now. Lorenzo Arisi still leading the pack. Oh, his teammate gets a bit wide on the exit 130R, as do all of them, in fact. Carey starting to apply pressure to the front runners as much as possible. Luigi Rosa really doing a really good job of that job. Or doing a really good job of that, should I say. As he comes down across the start-finish line now. End of lap 7. Beginning lap 7 with 1 hour and 50 minutes to go. Gaps down to 0.3 seconds coming through turn 1. Cutting a bit of grass from Andrea Riccelli there. Looks like Cliff Van der Veen had a bit of a moment. He's actually lost a bit of ground in the 84 Corvette. He's still in the fight now. The gap is about 1.2 seconds, so he's just missed out on that slipstream. And then a bit further back, we have a battle. Oh, we just missed a pass there between Joan Coffino and Daniel Vidamari in the Porsche 911 for Driver Game Seat Racing. Wide entry there from the 92. Daniel Vidamari sensed an opportunity but couldn't get the power down quick enough. And a bit of flash of headlights, maybe a bit of frustration coming in there. Daniel Vidamari, of course, made that spectacular start once the green flag was flown, up from P10 up to P5, but now starting to be caught back up again by the DX Droid cars. Oh, and there goes Mercedes down on the inside on the exit of Boone Curve. It's now going to be a drag race down towards 130R. Who's got more ponies in the bonnet? Looks like Mercedes is using the slipstream from his teammate. There is a lot of teamwork going on here for DX Droids. They're really utilising their numbers, and Danny Vidamari goes wide. Through Casio Triangle, cuts the curve short. Got to be careful, don't want to get any off tracks from that because it does add up. And now he's lost 2 positions in 1 lap, so not a good moment there for the Italian. Next on the board is Guido Verhelpen in the BMW for Go Team Racing. Of course, he's been beaten up by the DX Droids cars as well. And then we've got Paul Robert in the first of the McLarens. Oh, he's gone wide, and here comes Paul Robert down the inside at the first corner. He's getting the job done. Oh, they've actually made contact and gone wide. So not a great moment. Oh, rejoining very sketchily onto the S's there. Luckily, there was no traffic. But yeah, Paul Robert losing out most out of the pack because now he's in P10. In the meantime, Danny Vidamari has a bit of breathing space. And David Serra has actually moved back up the order as well. Of course, he had that moment at Casio Triangle. On board with the leaders again as they come out of the hairpin. Still 1-2 for Waveframe Esports here, doing an amazing job at holding back the pack, and Go Team Racing following closely behind, though the last time we looked it was 0.3 seconds between those top 3 positions. That has now expanded up to 1.5 before you see the teammates. So we're seeing a lot of teamwork going on here between the front runners, and the second team that we've noticed that in is DX Droids, which is the mixture of Porsches and Mercedes. So a lot of coordination going on, allowing each other to just pull away from the rest of the grid or facilitate overtakes. We just saw on the run down towards 130R, the Porsche providing the slipstream to the teammate Mercedes. So there's definitely a lot of cooperation going on here, and it's working well so far. coming across the start-finish line once more. For you that are watching, if you want to view the live timing, or if you like to look into the strategic side of things, we've just posted the link in our YouTube chat there. And if you're interested in the spotter guide, if you want to read more about the teams taking place this afternoon, then we've also posted the spotter guide. I think there's a few teams that are missing on it due to last-minute entries, but it's, for the most part, it's all there for you. Let's go back to the action in the mid-pack from P10 onwards, because that's where we have a great battle unfolding between these three cars. David Serra in the Porsche in the sandwich between Daniel Villamori and Paul Robert in the McLaren 720 as they all come down on the exit of the S's towards turns 8, I believe it is. Yeah, Degner curve. Camera there. Oh, a really nice, well held by David Serra. That car is planted through the hairpin. Danny Villamori looks like he's got a bit of a loose end as he tries to reapply the throttle, but he's still doing well, holding on to P8 at the moment, so he's slowly moving back, unfortunately, but hanging on as best he can. It's certainly not an easy person to overtake. When he wants to battle, he will go tooth and nail, that's for sure. Robert in the McLaren there got a bit twitchy on the exit of the spoon curve on the run down towards the back straight. Able to compromise his top speed just ever so slightly, and look at the Mercedes really extending that advantage over the rest of the top 5, or the rest of the top 10 should I say, because he is P5. Now the interesting thing about the leaders is when are they actually going to start fighting one another, because surely they both want to win this race, but for now at least they are cooperating with one another, making sure they don't make any silly mistakes. Same goes for the DX Droids cars as well. When is it going to come to a line in this, or, you know, when is the line going to be drawn where they say, okay, now we can begin to fight one another and go hell over the leather and just let the car loose. For now, of course, the biggest threat is Go Team Racing with Luigi Russo behind. He's still within that 1.5 second window, depending where we are on circuit. Cliff Van der Vin, in the meantime, has fallen off fairly substantially. So that Corvette not up to the task of keeping pace with these BMWs. And we've got another battle here between David Serra and Daniel Villamori, which is coming into its own as they come through towards the hairpin once more. Battle between Colin Sanders and Tony Janssen unfolding in P16 and 17 as well, and also further down the order in P25 and 26 there's one beginning to emerge. So all things to keep an eye on. I'm trying my best to cover as much of this action as possible, but it is proving to be quite difficult. Paul Roberts, he smells blood in the water, but he's coming right onto the tail of that Porsche. Gaining. Is he going to make it? You have to get close enough before 130. Ah, the answer is no. You heard him just lift as he approached the apex there, or the penultimate point where he had to turn in. So he fought for a better opportunity to present itself, which is a good thing, because that could have got very messy if he decided to send it down the inside. And you can now begin to see the sunrise come up. We're now 20 minutes into this race. You can just see in the top half of the screen, it's not sheer darkness anymore. It is starting to get that little tint of sunlight. So I think within the next 40 minutes we will get the sun in view, and this will be a blessing to some. But personally, I think racing at night is one of the better things about sim racing. I find it really good to watch. It brings a whole new element of racing to the board. Loads of colours. Oh, and there's a bit of a love tap between the McLaren and the Porsche there. Sim Apex really trying to push home a message and say, look, I'm faster than you. Can you please speed it up before we lose track
All
of
drivers,
everyone ahead of
there
us?
is a slow car in exit Casio chicane.
Oh, and there's a slow car somewhere, so that's bad news for someone. Let's have a look on the live timing, see if we can identify that for you. And going forward just ever so slightly, we've got another battle beginning to emerge. This is between the 92 and the 13. So this is Go Team Racing and DX Droids. We've got Elias Fernandez in that Mercedes just passing the screen now. But here comes the BMW. Returning with vengeance. Backing off nicely before 130R. Look at the sunrise coming out as well. It's not got that golden tinge just yet, but it's almost there. Oh, there's a stationary car there. What was that? I think it's on the exit of Cassia Triangle. One of the Mercedes. Really struggling in that last sector, but he's waiting for all the traffic to go by, which is good of him. Meanwhile, we'll stay on board with this battle. Otherwise, we will miss the action. Oh, and there's a sideways car. I think that was David Serra. David Serra off in a big way at turn 1. I don't know if that was following contact with Paul Robert. We saw him trying to get past earlier on and making a small bit of contact, but that is a loss of position back into P10 for him, and Paul Robert goes up ahead. Daniel Vidamari now under attack by the McLaren. We've also got the battle ahead with the BMW and the Mercedes as well, so it's all happening in the mid-pack and the top 10 shootout. McLaren trying to go down the inside, wasn't able to get it hung up just correctly. Coming into sector 2, riding the curbs nicely there by the Italian Daniel Vidamari, and gets the Porsche powered out of that corner. Let's go switching a quick ahead as well. The 92 under attack by the 13. Nearly gets it down onto the inside line. Nice judgment on how long that BMW's bonnet is. No contact whatsoever. Good to see. We've also got a battle for the top 3 positions coming up here as well. Look at this, Luigi Russo starting to hassle Andrea Riccelli in the Waveframe Esports car. So this could be a change for one of the podium positions as they come through 130R. Goes a bit wide, gets it back on the grey stuff just in the nick of time for the braking zone of Cassia Triangle. Really aggressively attacking the curbs there in those BMWs, but get it back underway. Let's quickly switch back to the battle between Daniel Vidamari and Paul Robert. He's holding on to P8 for dear life at the moment. McLaren really has the upper hand in these circumstances as it comes down towards turn 1. Is this going to be a repeat of last lap with David Serra? He's got the inside and he's made the move. Sim Apex take that position away from Danny Vidamari. Is he going to be able to do the switchback? No, he's not. And David Serra going really wide on the exit there. Rejoins just in the nick of time ahead of the Fair Racing Team McLaren. That is Paul Holt. So he might be able to get inside the top 10 in a few moments' time. Looks like that may be damage to that Porsche. The rear end is not stable at all. Up at the front of the pack, Luigi Russo still in 3rd place. About 0.6 seconds between the two of them now. So it is about, oh, look at that sunrise. That is spectacular here at Suzuka. And here comes FRT, the McLaren. Oh, I love the way they've put Holt on the back bumper and incorporated it with the braking light. Nicely painted cars, as always, from the Fair Racing Team. Back to our leaders. The 68 holding on. Luigi Russo really starting to apply that pressure, though, as they come down towards 130R once more. In the meantime, Lorenzo Arisi, our leader, extending that lead 2.6 seconds now. Braking heavily into Casio Triangle. He's made up quite a bit of ground there. This track really is spectacular, isn't it? If you look at the visuals you're getting here off this game, R-Factor 2 is certainly beautiful. Always having a little peek down the inside. Is it going to be under braking? Probably not. Just probably gauging that distance, finding out where he is. Coming through the S's. This is where the technical stuff comes in. And of course, Luigi Russo is at a disadvantage here, especially coming through Sector 1. That downforce is really at a disadvantage at the front of the car. Can't get it as turned in as much as the wave-free BMW can. There's not a lot of aero coming onto the front. Of course, when it comes to the straights, he has the advantage. He can really close up in those circumstances. However, when it comes to the twisty stuff, he will be the one that's really chewing through those front tyres. And that's not what you want to do if you're playing the long game. Of course, it is only a 2-hour race here, so it's effectively a sprint race. But that doesn't mean you can just put the hammer down. You've got to still look after the tyres here. There's going to be one pit stop available. And that's another point of discussion that we can talk about. Are they going to take tyres at the pit stop? Or is it just going to be fuel and it's just going to be a dash to the finish? Still 32 cars running here, Alton Motorsports. Oh, and as we say that, Crocodile Motorsports get knocked off our list of cars. So the number 4 is retired. That was being driven by Omar Miranda. He's not had a very good experience from the get-go. I think he was caught up in that lap 1 incident, unfortunately. Oh, and the number 7 getting a bit twitchy on the exit of 130R there. We'll quickly switch back to the top 10 because it's been a good point of discussion and battles that we've had. Paul Roberts made it up past Daniel Vidamari, so he's now into P8, the Porsche falling behind. And we've now got this great battle between P6 through to 8. Go Team Racing on the heels of Joan Corfino in the 92 Porsche. Moves down onto the inside line for turn 1. He's got the nose ahead and he's taken that position away. Oh, in fact, they're going too wide and the Porsche's lost it. And he's going to try and get the switch back. Nicely held by Joan there in the P7. That is really spectacular driving. But here comes Paul Roberts trying to take advantage of the situation. He's got the inside line for the next corner. What a move. Through the S's, gets the inside done and takes that position away. So that is Paul Robert up into P7. But yeah, Joan holding on for dear life as he entered turn 1. The Porsche just let go on the rear, but nice drifting through the apex of the corner. And I thought for a second he was going to be able to come back down onto the inside line, but that was just where the camera was angled. But yeah, nicely held and still managing to hold on to that P8 position. Got battles going up and down the order. We've got Jan-Nicolas Weiter against Juan Carlos Fernandez for P12 and 13. This is one of the, well, this is F1 Bros Racing. It's one of the other DX Droids Mercedes cars. And then we've also got Colin Sanders in one of the Aston Martins that's here as well. So he's doing quite well to hang on in there. And behind him is Tony Jansen for the Fair Racing team. So not many Aston Martins here this afternoon. In fact, there's only 2 of them, but they're actually doing a good job at the moment. P14 and 16 respectively. His fellow teammate Andrew Parkinson is in the 95 track VR car. And as we switch camera, very twitchy moment on the exit of Spoon Curve there. Thought he was almost going to lose it, and that's going to give an opportunity to the 14 behind. And that is the other DX Droids car as well. So here he comes down the inside line in the Mercedes. Is he going to make a move into 130R? Oh, yes they are. And there's a bit of contact made, sideswiping their way through one of the most deadly corners here at Suzuka. I'm very surprised that didn't end in tears. But he got the move done, albeit by a bit of argy-bargy. All is well, all stable, and able to continue the race. Let's go back to the battle inside these top 10 because that is where most of the action is happening at the moment. We've got Paul and Robert trying to catch up with Go Team Racing, and he's currently leading that small pack. In fact, the only DX-Droid car now ahead is Ilias Fernandez. So he's doing an absolutely brilliant job getting that car into P5. A few blue flag situations starting to emerge. He's able to deal with that pretty quickly indeed. A fairly large gap of 4 seconds before we see Go Team Racing and Guado Verhelpen. And then Paul Robert in the McLaren 720S, he is not giving him any room to breathe at all. He's still got a bit of ground to make up, but he's still within that 1 second striking distance. And as I say that, he's gone a bit wide at Spoon Curve there, so that's going to compromise that exit speed and allow the BMW to get away just ever so slightly. DNFs are starting to mount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Max Scholten for the Fair Racing team is DNF'd as well. So that brings our running total down to 30 cars with half an hour of running completed. And Danny Vidamari starting to reapply some presence into the top 10. He's trying to overtake Joan Covino on the run down towards turn 1 now. Of course, we've got that lovely golden crisp sunrise here at Suzuka Circuit as the night retreats. Oh, and a big moment there for Paul Robert. He tries to get back up to racing speed. Here comes the Porsche down the inside through the S's and takes that P7 away. Looks like he had an incident into turn 1. BMW is still going, so might have been self-inflicted. Great shot of the cars zooming past as they accelerate down towards sector 2. And going too wide. Oh, the McLaren's actually got ahead. Don't know how he managed that, but yeah, Paul Robert retakes that position on the entry to Degner Curve. Not one of the best places to conduct an overtake, but he gets the job done. David Amari still in the fight here. Behind though is Paul Holt, who we know is a very competitive gentleman. He's driving the McLaren 720S, very clean racer, and he's coming into the fray now. So he's done a very good job to get up to where he is. That gap 0.5 seconds, and he could, if he conducts himself correctly, could move up from P10 up into P7. So let's see how well this pans out. Bonnet cam here of the McLaren, just looking ahead at the 3 cars that are in his way. Oh, Danny Vidamari, the Italian, getting very wide on the exit of 130. Oh, and the 92 spins. Good judgment there from Paul Holt. That was a real front row screenshot of what was unfolding there, but 92 just seemed to outdo themselves under braking. Doesn't look like there was any contact there, but really didn't handle that too well, going side by side into Casio Triangle. Got 2 wide situation here between Gianni Vidamari and Ilias now, or Joan, sorry, should I say. And Gianni Vidamari comes out on top. Now Paul Holt is the next in line to make a move, and we've also got David Serra making a good recovery drive just in the distance behind the camera there. Cutting the curb nicely on Degner Curve. Now coming up to the hairpin. Takes a look down the inside, wasn't able to expand on that gap. braking. Can he maximise on that on the run down towards turn 1? We'll have to wait and see. A few moves being made. Blue flags ahead actually. As Crocodile Motorsports comes out of the pit lane, he's switching left and right, trying to find some ground. And, ooh, big moment there. Zhuang goes into the wall. 92 from DX Droids out of this race now. You see the flickering of lights. Hopefully that's the ignition coming back on. But that was a huge moment. Paul Holt was on the outside line. Just had a hair's width alongside the car. Both went under braking. Of course, Paul Holt tried to turn in, as did Porsche. But all it takes, under those kinds of speeds, all it takes is that small piece of contact, and that can really unsettle the car. And from that point onwards, unfortunately, Zhuang was a passenger in that situation. There's nothing that he could do, and just got spun right around and into the wall. I wouldn't say that that's entirely on Paul. From what I could see anyway, from the angle that we saw, I can't say that that's entirely on Paul, because he was on the outside line under braking. Looks like maybe they just tried to occupy the same piece of tarmac. Definitely needs a few more angles to be looked at before we can place any blame there, but unfortunately that's what happened. In the meantime though, he's in P9, so moving forward, the next car ahead will be Daniel Vidamari, who's doing battle with Paul Robert there, so good battle between the Sim Apex and Drive Game Seat racing car. And then behind as well, we've got Jean Carlos Fernandez and Jean-Nicolas Viter for the F1 Bros Racing. They're doing a good job of making their way up the order too. Our leaders are still doing 2 minutes lap times. They haven't been able to break into the 159s, so that is some good race pace that they've got. But it's astounding how much time you can gain in qualifying trim. I mean, we saw lap times of 57s. And Paul Holt trying to fend off Juan Carlos Fernandez in the DX Droids Mercedes behind. That is the number 3, and then of course we've got F1 Bros Racing in P11, so trying to sketch his way into the top 10 here. And switching over to the F1 Bros Racing McLaren. And yeah, Juan has retired. Unfortunately, in fact, we've got quite a few retirees. Now down to 26 running cars. Come on, ladies and gents. A lot of silly retirements happening there. But it just shows how quick the grid can almost purge itself. Especially at a track like Suzuka. Certainly not easy to get around here safely or quickly. Yeah, quite a few DNFs starting to emerge, and we haven't been running for that long. It's a good thing it's not an endurance race, ladies and gents. Speaking of endurance racing, I may as well take this moment to mention the World Sports Car Challenge. For those of you that regularly watch Checkered Flag Simsports, you'll know that we host our annual championship from November through to April. And sign up has opened via invite, so if you have received an invite, you might want to get around to filling out that registration form for things fill up. And for those of you that do want to partake in this year's World Sports Car Challenge, it does 3 to 6 hour races with teams of 2 to 3 drivers. As we'll come back to that in a minute, as it looks like there's a move going for 9th place. No, not close enough just as of yet. For Fernandez, needs to cut off a few more tenths before we can make a move on Paul Holt there, but he's almost within striking distance. But going back to the World Sports Car Challenge, if you are looking to join and you didn't receive an invite for whatever reason, then they are opening on Sunday the 18th of October, so if there are any remaining vacancies, you can apply your team to take part then. Some of the teams that are taking part here today in this round are looking to take part. when they register, they say that they want to partake in Season 4. So performance here is vital in some respects, because that may be the difference between receiving an invite to the championship. In the meantime, our leaders are coming slowly but surely back together again. We're keeping an eye on the battle between Paul Holt and Carlos Fernandez for the time being, because they are extremely close indeed. In the meantime, our leaders got a gap of at least 3 seconds over the other sister car of Andrea Kelly. Luigi Russo is only 0.9 seconds adrift in P3 as well, so if that actually comes closer, we will let you know instantly. David Serra has also retired from the race, so another casualty from the DX Droids armada that's here this afternoon. Unfortunately, some of them are beginning to fatigue and fall behind. So that brings our total range to 27 cars. There's almost 10 retirees in the first 40 minutes. We've got a few cars inside the pit lane conducting repairs as well. So Paul Holt still hanging on in there. Carlos just staying with him for the time being. Pushing to the onboard of the Mercedes. Always making a move. Just managed to get the car slowed down in the nick of time, but the braking performance of that Mercedes is outstanding in comparison to that McLaren. Really started to close down that gap. Just got it stopped in the nick of time before it turned into a punt to pass. Spits of flame coming out the back of the McLaren there. We was mentioning that earlier. Great feature of the car. Doesn't matter how fast or slow the car is, if it spits flames, it's cool. That's just the law of racing. Still not close enough to make a move on the run down towards 130R either, unfortunately. Ooh, attacking the curb quite aggressively there. That's going to unsettle the car. Janica's fighter not able to maximise that opportunity. Had nowhere to go really, and he actually attacked the curb on the exit of Cassio Triangle quite aggressively. So not able to really maximise that potential. As we come through to turn one once more, let's go ahead to Paul Holt because he's under attack from Daniel Vidamari in the Porsche behind. Now if we know Daniel Vidamari, he will wait until the perfect moment to strike. Time being though, oh, it's a big moment here for Paul and Robert. Can Daniel Vidamari maximise on that? Coming down towards the hairpin. He's got the acceleration but not the ground. He didn't make it up in the nick of time. Oh, and he's made a mistake himself going onto the grass on the exit there. Really had an opportunity to take home that position. The McLaren really was struggling to get on the exit. Almost had a full 180 spin on our hands, but nicely held by the Sim Apex driver. That battle's going on up and down the order. Battle for 22nd place underway as well between Adrian Blasco and Rodrigo Vieira. This is the closest one that we've got, especially with inside the top 10. That Porsche really does struggle on the long straights, it seems. Wasn't able to get any ground at all on the McLaren. Our leaders here, with Simsports and with Kelly. He's currently sitting in second place. That BMW from Go Team Racing starting to really close that gap up now to 0.6 seconds as they come through the hairpin in sector 2. Lorenzo Arisi still our leader here with Wave Free Sports. The 21 BMW gap now is up to 2.5 seconds. So the front running teams here really are setting down some strong pace. In the meantime, Cliff van der Ven in the Corvette is just outside those top 3 positions, but he's shy of around 5 seconds until you see this battle unfolding for second place. So potentially he could take advantage of Raquelli and Russo doing battle in the next few laps or so if they decide to go for it. It's 14 minutes until the end of the first hour, and that's when we'll be expecting the teams to come into pit lane to conduct the one and only pit stop here in this event. And they've made a lot of ground against the rest of the competition. Of course, anything behind that, Elias Fernandez onwards, which is P5, they've all been battling ferociously. So that unfortunately has allowed them to make ground against the rest of the order. Even more so. And that's why you've got that gap between Cliff van der Ven and Elias Fernandez. It's actually 12 seconds between P4 and P5 at the moment. But that's all because of the battles that we've been seeing. It's great to watch, but it has hampered their chances of making up the ground towards those podium positions. David Amari under a lot of pressure at the moment. He's got a train of cars behind him. Paul Holt, Jean-Carlos Fernandez and Jan-Nicolas Weiter all queuing up behind the Italian as he comes through the first sector now. Of course, for those of you that don't watch R Factor 2 or play it that often, the Porsche is actually the underdog here on the basis that the tyres really do not survive the longevity of these races. So even when it's only a 2-hour race here, they do start to struggle. So we may see them decide to go for a full service when they come into the pit lane, depending on how those tyres are holding up. Here comes Paul Holt in the McLaren. He's going to have a look down into Spoon Curve. Not close enough just yet. Needs to maximise the exit. Oh, he's making the move now. Down onto the inside. Saw the opening and widened it by placing that McLaren perfectly in the gap. And now it's a drag race down towards 130R, and the McLaren certainly has the advantage. Here comes the Porsche straight back at him though. They're going side by side. Who's going to be able to chicken out on this one? The McLaren holds the inside line, and they both go through 130R. David Amari gets pushed slightly wide, and even still does not want to yield up until the ultimate breaking point at Casio Triangle. That is good racing, ladies and gents. Good spatial awareness between the two drivers. They've raced each other many times before in the World Sports Car Challenge, and they knew exactly what they need to do. Look at them all hugging the pit wall entry before coming into turn 1. David Amari comes back straight at him on the braking zone into turn 1. Not close enough, or not enough performance in that Porsche to get the job done and to make it stick. But that is Paul Holt now up into P7. Jean-Nicolas Fernandez, or John Carlos Fernandez is close behind now in that Mercedes for DX Droids. And just looking on ahead, maybe sensing an opportunity will present itself very shortly. and he's going for it on the run down to Degner corner. Tries to get the car up on the inside line, not able to do so. In the meantime, Jan-Nicolas Viter in the F1 Bros Racing car close behind as well, just waiting patiently for a door to present itself. Mercedes going down the inside. Bit of a love tap from Fernandez there. He certainly knows that Mercedes is strong under the brakes, which we've already seen throughout this race as well. So he tried to push home the advantage going into the hairpin, but wasn't able to get close enough. On board with the number 3. Gaining as we approach 130R. Is he going to make the move? He is. He's going for it, but chickens out at the last moment. David Amari in the meantime has to go wide as he thought he was going to make the move. Oh wow, big cut there from the number 3, eating the grass and everything here at Suzuka. Mows the lawn slightly, that'll save the groundskeeper a bit of work. Sense down the inside, just have a little peep, see what he can get away with, how close he is. Oh, he's actually running a bit wider at turn 1. Can the McLaren take advantage? No, he doesn't. F1 Bros Racing falling slightly behind out of this top 10 battle now. It's made a bit of a gap present, so 0.4 seconds between two of them. Although coming really strong back now as he comes through towards the hairpin once more. How many laps have we completed now? 27 laps completed here. And again, the Mercedes, very strong under the brakes, tries to get the nose on the inside line on the Porsche, but David Amari very eager to close the door in the nick of time and secure that spot still. This is great stuff, ladies and gents. I've had a few more retirees. I think we're now down to 25 running cars, so a lot of casualties starting to mount. And he's made it through on the entry to 130R. And David Amari's coming straight back at him again. He wants that position. Oh, they've both gone deep into Casio triangle. David Amari's gone over the rumble strips and lost out on both positions there. Didn't have a lot of ground to play with. Unfortunately, went onto the green stuff, and you got the sleeping policeman on the exit to prevent any cuts like that. And yeah, played it safe, went quite slowly over them to make sure he didn't damage the underside of the car. But now David Amari back into P10. Carlos Fernandez in P8, followed by F1 Bros Racing and Viter. Let's have a look further ahead. We've got Elias Fernandez currently making good ground against the rest of the pack. Where is the Go Team BMW? He's actually just coming under the bridge now. So that's a fairly substantial gap between the two of them. Paul Holt is the next in line in the McLaren, but he's got a fair bit of distance, almost 10 seconds in total before he catches up to these two. So the Go Team Racing cars performing well in both P3 and P6 accordingly. Back to the battle for P8 then. This is actually the closest action we've got on circuit. We're still keeping an eye on our leaders as well. They're separated by just 0.5 seconds as we speak. So that is certainly one to keep an eye on. In fact, is Lorenzo Ricci in pit lane? No, he's not, but he's actually lost a bit of ground now to Andrea Riccelli in the Wave Freems eSport car. It used to be about 2.5 seconds, but that is now 1.5 as they come down into turn 1. Luigi Russo still keeping them company. in the Go Team BMW. And Cliff van der Ven is shy of just 5 seconds himself as well. That's the 84 Corvette, that 1998. Modernised, shall we say, or brought back to life. Let's have a look at this battle once more then. Back to P10. Jan-Nicolas Vieira in the middle of this pack. 10 through to 8. Or 8 through to 10, however you want to put it. And just up ahead, you've got Paul Holt in that McLaren there. He's starting to extend that advantage that he gained. It's very important that he just keeps that consistency going now, because he's got a nice bit of clean air. And I think he's got a bit of blue flag traffic just ahead of him in the form of an Aston Martin, which is correct, but that is Giorgio Cirelli. I think that's the 60 Cirex Motorsport, if I'm not mistaken, taking the stock skin for this afternoon's race, but able to get past that without too much of trouble, and that will allow him to focus on the job at hand. Let's go back to P2 though, because we've got a battle unfolding for our leaders now. Great camera shot here from Suzuka. Oh, going wide again on the exit of 130R as Paul Robert posted a new best lap time, 1:58.914. So really good stuff. Paul Robert really starting to hammer down. And you have to begin to wonder if Ricciardi is starting to apply pressure to Lorenzo in the closing stages of this stint. Got 3 minutes left before we get to the midway point of this afternoon's race, and he'll be thinking to himself that he doesn't want to be the cannon fodder for losing ground in this race. He must be thinking, Luigi Russo is right behind me. I've got to push as much as I can, because he's starting to catch up now as the cars become lighter and more agile in these closing stages. Now he's got to apply the pressure on his teammate Lorenzo to say, hey, come on, pick up the pace. We're going to lose our 1-2 if we don't start to pick up our game here. On board then with Luigi Russo in the Go Team Racing BMW. Very fast driver, performed extremely well at our 12-hour Le Mans this year. Oh, sorry, that was the last round of the World Sports Car Challenge, the 6-hour Le Mans, sorry, my apologies, but performed extremely well there in the McLaren. Of course, things have changed since then in terms of the balanced performance package, but very fast driver indeed. Seems to close up very nicely on the approach to 130R. Oh, and a penalty there for Giorgio Cirelli. Not too sure what that's for, but it must be something. Let's have a look down into P20, because there's a bit of action unfolding here between Milo Serafin and Adrian Blasco. So even though they're fighting outside the top 10, there's still action to be had. And this is between W3 Race and one of the stock AMGs here, or DX Droids. Ooh! Big moment into 130R, and that's a retire. No way are they coming back from that. And that's where inexperience comes in. I think that's what's happened to a lot of the drivers here this afternoon. I don't know if he knows that he's missing a rear wheel there. That is a huge, huge impact into the barrier. And yeah, he doesn't even realise that he's missing a rear wheel. But he's going to have to come into the pits to repair that damage. Otherwise, that is pretty much his race over. But yeah, coming into 130R, it's one of the places that you don't really want to go too wide. It really is dangerous. And even now rubbing the pit wall entry as he enters for a full service. Good news is that it is part of a scheduled stop because we're now reaching the 1 hour mark. So at least he can re-enter the track limits after the repairs are done without knowing he'll have to come back in again to inconvenience himself. But regardless, I mean, with the damage model that we have here on rFactor 2 and the settings that we've got here at CFS, of course we try to be as real as possible, or as realistic as possible. There is going to be a long time before that car goes back out onto track again. Of course, a lot of cars coming into pit lane on the hour mark. Daniel Vidimari is one of them as he comes swooping through the traffic and back onto the circuit limits. It's now back down into P12 as some of the traffic goes by, as do our current leaders, Lorenzo Risi and Andrea Riccelli as well. Luigi Russo is in pit lane though, so he's going to potentially try the undercut move here in that BMW as he gets back underway in a few moments' time. And we are now officially into the last remaining hour, ladies and gents. Interesting pit lane that we've got here. Originally the idea was to have 45 cars on track, but unfortunately not everyone could make it this afternoon to the race. So we usually have LMP2s and GT3s on either side of the track, but as you can see they're stacked 2 by 2 to maximise grid space or pit lane availability. Seems to work quite nicely. But some of the cars now back out on track. Lorenzo Risi in the meantime still leading the pack, and we're expecting them to come in either this lap or the next to conduct their pit stop for this afternoon. Don't forget, while we're undergoing this pit stop strategy, we're expecting to see quite a few positions change. But if you are enjoying the action in front of your eyes here this afternoon, don't forget to give us a like on the live stream or to follow us on our Facebook page depending on where you're watching from, and give us a subscription as well. So just click that subscribe button and that way you won't miss any of the action that unfolds in the next few months or so. Coming through 130R just now is Lorenzo Risi under the braking into Casio triangle. We've had a few more retirements, so our total running is now 24 cars, and in comes our leader. In the meantime though, Riccelli, after saving fuel presumably by following his teammate, he's going to go for one more round before coming into pit lane. Most of the cars are back underway again as one of the DX Droids cars is back underway, and unfortunately that car that we saw go off into the barrier is still in pit lane now, so it's a long repair job there for Giorgio Cirelli. Now let's see how things have spiced up, shall we? So we've got Riccelli leading the way for the 68 from Wave Freem Esports there. And Houdini Racing have actually made good ground. Not too sure if they still need to come into pit lane though, because here comes Georgi Nadev. We haven't seen him all race in the number 7 after conducting that change. And number 7 back underway again, just going side by side into 130R. Could this be a hairy moment? Nicely done, gets ahead just in the nick of time before the penultimate turning point. And that is now back up into P5. Of course, this is vital for them. They've already been out on track for at least 2 laps now. They did come into the pit lane before the rest of the Wave Freem Esports cars. So let's see how that's affected things. He's actually lost quite a bit of ground as Lorenzo Risi is already back underway with at least 2 to 3 seconds advantage over the Go Team driver. So that has really affected their performance there. And Riccelli is currently coming through Casio Triangle now and coming down into pit lane. And Houdini Racing in the pit lane as well. So that's pretty much most of the pit stops completed now by the teams. And we're on board with Paul Holt. He's trying to hold off Danny Vidamari. In fact, we've got a lot of action further back here. We've got a battle for 11th through to 14th. Daniel Ersling and Colin Sanders and Tony Jansen all going for it. And Riccelli still in pit lane at the moment. Surely that pit stop is coming to an end very shortly. Whereas Lorenzo Arisi coming down the back straight as we speak, followed by Georgi Nadev, who is a whopping 6 seconds behind. So that was a huge stop that they had. Potentially taking new tyres, I'm not too sure. But we're just waiting for Riccelli to get back underway now. You can hear the engine starting to rev. He's eager to get back underway, but not just as of yet. In the meantime, Arisi coming onto the start-finish straight. He will get ahead before his teammate potentially. Here comes Riccelli outside of the pit lane. And that even then with Riccelli, that is a huge advantage that he now has over his teammate. So the gap now is 4 seconds between the two Wavefree Esports BMWs. Georgi Nadev, in the meantime, is 2 seconds behind Riccelli. So that stop really did hurt those two teams. Fairly evenly matched themselves, but Lorenzo Arisi really did a really well-planned, well-managed pit stop and able to get out super quick. Cliff Vanderveen, in the meantime, we haven't seen him in a while in the Corvette 84. He's done a good job under the pit stops as well. He's gained about 2 to 3 seconds over the guys ahead, and he's got them ahead just by a few seconds. So keep an eye on that one, see if he can press home the advantage. Back to P8 now with Paul Holt and Danny Vidamari. 0.7 seconds between these two guys. Danny Vidamari doing an amazing job considering that Porsche is not well suited to these types of racing. And just on board as we go through Degner Curve. Bit of traffic starting to emerge. We've got a three-way battle from 13th through to 15th. This is one of the DX Droids cars now. Tony Jansen, Colin Sanders and Andrew Parkinson all behind one another. Oh, is that Colin Sanders off? Yes, it is. So Colin Sanders from P12 there spins at the exit of Degner Curve just before you get to the bridge and has lost all of those positions to the guys ahead. So Tony Jansen now leading the pack out of those four for Fair Racing Team. Looks like Andrew Parkinson is starting to fall off the back of this pack, but we've still got a good battle between Tony Jansen and... Oh, I just heard a huge crunch. Is that Daniel Ersling? No, it's not. So there must have been a car in between those two. But there was a huge impact. There was a huge crunch at 130R. It might have been Giorgio Sorelli because they do go over one on top of the other at that point, so I reckon it was this Aston Martin because he's going very slowly indeed. Yeah, I believe it was, but back to the action now with Tony Jansen as we just catching back in the nick of time. Oh, Tony Jansen makes a huge sideways move into the entry into turn one, just hangs on. And that is the position lost over to the number 14 there from DX Droids. That is P12 firmly in his grasp. Tried to squeeze down onto the racing line, or to the right hand side, and then they both tried to rise up again towards the racing line for the entry to turn one. But yeah, that McLaren really not happy with those circumstances and decided to spit the dummy out. Nicely held though, prevented it from turning into a full 180 and a spin, which really isn't a place you want to be, especially on the entry to turn 1. Some really high speeds being carried into that braking zone. He's got all the work to do now, 0.7 seconds away from the Mercedes ahead. We've also got a fight starting to emerge between Paul Robert and Elias Fernandez. Paul Robert now up into P5 in that McLaren, doing a really good job. Elias Fernandez in the DX Droids number 9 Mercedes, at least 5 minutes, a few seconds behind, 1.2 seconds in fact. There's been quite a high casualty rate, 24 running cars. See that it's a lot less noisy here at the circuit. And another DX Droid Mercedes holding off Tony Jansen in this case. 0.7 seconds, so he's maintaining that gap for the time being. Oh, we've actually got Ben Corbin going for Pavlo here in the 96, or the 86 even, sorry, of W3 race. And you've got Julian Munsters as well in the 98 Bentley. I'm not too sure if that's on the same lap or not. No, it is. So we could see a battle coming on from 16th through to 18th here between the McLaren and the Corvette. First time we've seen these guys on screen. Now Corvette's really starting to hammer down. He's got 0.3 seconds of a gap coming into the hairpin. McLaren gets a bit of a better exit though as we come into sector 3 now, on board with Ben. Oh, and they both go deep into Spoon Curve. Can't get this car slowed down in the nick of time. Really struggled to get that car rectified. That could have been a moment there for Ben if he could have settled the car down a bit sooner. He could be looking at a position gain. And through 130R they both go. He's going to try and under braking into Cassia Triangle. He thinks about it, keeps the outside line. McLaren gets a bit wonky as well on the exit. This could be a moment where he could maximise the exit speed. You've just got our leaders coming into shot there as well. Switching to the onboard, he's gaining on the back end of the McLaren. Switching to the inside line for the defensive move. And Ben's going to get the opportunity down onto the inside line. He's done a really good job to get the exit cleanly done. And a nice classic move there. Into P16 goes Ben Corbin. Leandro Lene moving down the order by one for W3 Racing Team. Let's go ahead in the pack because we've got another battle unfolding just a few corners behind. Paul Robert and Elias Fernandez for the DX Droids team and Sim Apex. Oh, bit of a moment there from Roberts. Gets a bit squirrely on the S's. Don't want to touch the grass here at this point of the circuit. Can really unsettle the rear end of the car. Mercedes smells blood in the water. It's going to be for P5. Oh, and onto the gravel trap goes the McLaren. Nicely held together though, doesn't let it get dragged into the runoff area. But surely starting to show signs of pressure. And that Mercedes gets super close. Wouldn't be able to fit a piece of paper between those two cars. Really close to one another as they come running down towards Sector 3 now. Of course, no more pit stops available for the teams here. So it is just all about hammering down and getting the car home as best you can. But really starting to apply the pressure now is Fernandez. Accelerating down towards 130R, hair-raising stuff at Suzuka. Who's going to make the best move? Trying to get the car nose alongside, which he does. He's still got a hair's width. Oh, and a switchback from the McLaren. Trying to go defensive for Casio. Triangle, well read on the length of the car. Oh, and they're bashing each other now as they come through over the curbing. And the Mercedes still can't find a way past the McLaren. Got to be careful about how much damage they decide to inflict to one another. But now on the run down towards turn 1 once more. When he's trying it down into the apex of the second part of turn 1. Not able to get alongside, but trying all his best to do so. Now coming in towards the S's. Turns 2, 3, coming through the S curve of 5 and 6. The Mercedes is right on the hill of the McLaren there. But at this point of the circuit, just not able to open a door sufficiently to make his way past. Cutting the curb aggressively. Got to be careful of those off tracks. You do have a limit before you get a drive through, but nicely held by the Mercedes driver. Usually if you hit the curbing too aggressively, oh, and he's making a move down the inside, into the hairpin he goes, and Robert Bourne he's trying to get a cutback, but not able to do so. So that's a move done brilliantly by the Mercedes driver. DX Droids moving up into P5, one of the last remaining cars that in their armada that they've brought here today that's still surviving and doing spectacularly well as well. So Roberts really can't fight back. He has to wait for the run down towards 130R before he can retaliate, which he does. He gets a nice exit, closing down on the Mercedes as we speak. On board once again with Robert. And he's gaining. Is he going to try it down the inside? No, he's not. The defensive move there by the Mercedes saying, you're not coming past here, buddy. But yes, he runs wide on the braking zone. Will the McLaren try it down the inside? No, he doesn't. Waits patiently. He's going to try and maximise the run down towards the first corner, I'm sure. This time by, the Mercedes using the blue flag as an advantage here. He's using that blue flag GT3 to try and slipstream his way down, which it works successfully. The McLaren not able to gain much ground that time by. Next car up ahead is Crocodile Motorsports. Their Porsche, which is actually a blue flag situation. That's not for position. On board with the Mercedes. This could be a real hampering for his efforts here. Elias Fernandez needs to get by as quickly as possible. Oh, and it's actually impeded him slightly. Here comes the Crocodile Motorsport car getting out of the way. Decides, okay, I'm just going to bail here. Get out of the way while I still can. But Paul Roberts now coming into Degner Curve. Really strong driving from both these teams. Really don't want to give an inch to one another if they can avoid it. Spoon curve this time by. Looks to have lost a bit of ground coming through turns 15 there, not in the prime position to come and retaliate on the approach to 130R. That Mercedes really pushing the limits there in the exit runoff area. Got to be careful once again, can really hurt the car if you get it wrong. We've already seen that here this afternoon. Quick update on our leaders for you that are watching and wondering. Lorenzo Risi still leading the way, with Raquel still behind by 2 seconds, and then Georgi Nadev 5 seconds adrift of second place, 7 seconds if you account for the leader, and then Cliff van der Vin a further 4 seconds behind as well. So not much time between our front runners here this afternoon. In the meantime, Paul Roberts got a bit sideways through one of the S's there, so that gap is starting to extend itself. And only 0.6 seconds separating these two cars at the moment, the 67 and the number 9. Oh, bit of a moment there for Juan Roberts. Went onto the grass just ever so slightly. That Mercedes really is hammering down now. He's getting away quite consistently. Testing the track limits himself. Back towards Daniel Vidamari because he is also under attack from another DX Droids car. They seem to be everywhere this afternoon. Juan Carlos Fernandez fighting for the remnants of the top 10. .6 seconds separating these two as they come down into 130R. And actually we've got a closer battle going on here. Elias Fernandez on the run down towards time 1. Under pressure from Paul Roberts once more. 0.2 seconds separating them. So we're going to have to keep switching to and fro between these two battles as they unfold. 38 minutes left, ladies and gents, before we get to the checkered flag here. Bit of a twitchy moment coming out of Degner Curve. Some really great camera shots here at Suzuka as well. Whoever made this circuit really does need a round of applause. Get some great angles of the cars and zooming past at speed. And here comes a battle between Daniel Vidamari and the number 3 from DX Droids as well. Mercedes once again applying pressure, this time on a Porsche. We know the Mercedes is extremely strong under braking. Daniel Vidamari though getting a great exit out of the hairpin on the run down towards sector 3. Both battles are raging and underway, both 0.2 seconds away from one another. But we're going to keep an eye on Daniel Vidamari as he applies the pressure under Casio Triangle. The Mercedes closing under braking once more. course, as you can see, we're now firmly into the morning here at Suzuka Circuit. Just as beautiful in daytime as it was during the night. But certainly one of the best things about racing is transitioning, or endurance racing at least, is transitioning from night into day and vice versa, day into night. It really does create some spectacular moments visually for those watching and participating out on the circuit as well. I'm sure they appreciated going through Casio Triangle with that golden glint from the sun coming up. There's a long list of DNFs here. Suzuka really hasn't shown any mercy today to some of the drivers. Total running of 23 cars now, as the 14 is the newest addition to the DNF list, unfortunately, which is another one of the DX Droids cars. Oh, and he's trying it down into the hairpin. There's a bit of a dive. Bit of an argy-bargy moment there from Carlos Fernandez. Danny Vidamari will not be happy with that, as you can see him flashing the headlights, saying that wasn't on. Bit of frustration coming from the Mercedes driver, though, I believe. Just wanted to get the move done. Side by side as they enter Spoon Curve now. Bit of more argy-bargy exchanging the paintwork. Not getting too aggressive, though. And here comes the Porsche down on the outside. He's got the move done, though. Juan Carlos Fernandez still holding on to that position. But here comes the Porsche now, coming for the retaliation moment. He's going to try and do the switchback. Bit of twitching from the Mercedes and going through 130R side by side. Who's going to come out on top? It could be the Porsche. It could be Mercedes. They're still side by side and they're braking for Casio Triangle. And Danny Vidamari takes the inside line. Still side by side even more. They're trying to consume as much of the curbing racing room as possible. But still, the Mercedes won't give any room whatsoever. He's still in position, still in 9th place, and the Porsche coming back at him once more. Oh, bit of a touch there from the rear bumper. I mean, safe to be said, that was a bit of argy-barginess from the Mercedes ahead, but all's fair in love and war. But it was a bit of a dive. Not too sure Danny Vidamari would be too pleased with that. It was pretty much get out of my way, I'm coming through. Pretty much used the Porsche as his braking block. Race for some good visuals though. And yeah, Danny Vidamari trying to come back with everything he had there. He just wasn't able to piece it together in the nick of time. Tried his best through 130R. That was incredible stuff, using the runoff area. I think I'm not too sure if Vidamari was trying to repay the favour then, but he's too far behind now, 0.6 seconds adrift, and we're going to switch back to the fight for P5 now, as we still got Fernandez doing battle with Roberts, and just shy of the top 5 in that McLaren 720S for Sim Apex RT. And things starting to settle down now across the board. I mean, we've been pretty much watching the top 5 do battle here this afternoon. Or the top 10, should I say. And now that the grid has reduced in size significantly, I think we've lost another one since last time. So running total is now 23. We started with 36 cars, ladies and gents. So the casualty rate has been pretty high. I don't know if that's through a lack of practice, lack of preparation. I'd like to think so, considering that there's a lot of guys that are still doing very well here, especially in the form of the 2 Wave Freem Esports drivers. They're pretty much dominating this round from start to finish. Danny Vidamari trying to find some ground back on the number 3 Mercedes now as they come through the S's. just not able to get the power down as quickly as the Mercedes is, especially under the brakes as well. That Porsche isn't in its comfort zone, that's for sure. We've got a battle between our two leaders emerging as well. They've reduced the gap to 1.2 seconds, so Raikkonen really starting to push his teammate along now as that gap has come back down. It was about 3 to 4 seconds when they came out of pit lane, but that has started to be eaten away. In the meantime, Georgi Nadev in the Go Team Racing number 7 still unfortunately falling behind 7 seconds. That's exactly where he was when they came out of pit lane, so no improvement there. We might have a... Oh, actually, has Paul Roberts had an issue somewhere? Yes, he's in pit lane. So what's happened here? The McLaren coming into pit lane. Maybe he's made a miscalculation at some point in respect to how much fuel he needs, because he's going down the order like a stone. Now coming back out in P10. Next person coming along is Daniel Ersling for the F1 Bros Racing team. And not able to get close enough just yet, but yeah, that has really hurt their performance now. So all the following cars have gone through 13, 81, 3 and 23. So Danny Vidamari back now into P9. But yeah, that McLaren making a big mistake. Still 0.6 seconds between the two. It seems to be that Danny Vidamari is stronger in some areas of the circuit, whereas the Mercedes is better under the brakes, so he's really going to hammer down in the latter part of the lap, especially coming into the likes of Casio Triangle and the hairpin, which is where we are now. And the gap goes up to 0.8 seconds under that certain part of tarmac. So yeah, the Mercedes certainly stronger at that stage. But it seems to be that Daniel Vidamari, a lot of experience inside the cockpit of that Porsche, seems to be gaining a lot of ground in the higher speed corners, the really fast and twisty stuff, which he does so now back down to 0.6 seconds as they come on towards 130R. Also got Paul Holt falling back towards this battle now, as you see him going through Casio Triangle there. So three-way battle now starting to emerge here, which is all good news for Danny Vidamari. But yeah, that is actually coming into pit lane. Yes, Paul Holt in pit lane for the second time this afternoon. The 27 coming in now for the Fair Racing team. That is further bad news for the guys. Surely it's just a splash and dash. A slight miscalculation perhaps. They came in too early. That's the second car that's done that this afternoon. Meanwhile, all the other cars pretty much pitted on the hour, so they can feel pretty confident that they can get to the end. That is sad news indeed. All good news for these two, though. Number 3 and the 23 moving up by 1 once more, 7th and 8th place respectively. And now our leaders are really starting to come close now as well. 0.6 seconds coming through 130R is Raikkonen and Lorenzo Arisi as well. Now it'll be interesting to see if they are about to do battle here, because for the lead of the race they've got a fairly comfortable lead. Go Team Racing aren't completely out of the fight if they decide to start battling with each other. I mean, they could fairly comfortably come home 1-2 with confidence if they just sat back and relaxed and allowed the cars to just do their thing. But that would be too boring now, wouldn't it? You've got to allow them to do battle. Raikkonen now 0.4 seconds. That's real striking distance there. He's been cutting down the gap lap after lap for the last 3 to 4 perhaps times by past start-finish. So this could get very interesting indeed. Into sector 2 now. 0.5 seconds, hasn't moved this time. But here comes the hairpin. Could be an opportunity here for Raikkonen to close down that gap even more. So evenly matched. You can tell these guys drive in a team. Very similar driving style, very smooth, very consistent. And always in the top half of the grid in our events that they've taken part in, especially 4 Hours of Bathurst, which they took part in this year. Now down to 0.5 seconds, so they are starting to close in just ever so slightly. On a bit of traffic now starting to present itself at the top of the top of our screens. I think that might be the Aston Martin of Cirex Motorsport, not too sure. Now 0.4 seconds now, he's closer than he ever has been since the start of this race. Oh, a lot of curb taken there by Raikkonen. Really unsettled the rear end of that BMW. Trying to navigate around to the Aston Martin, no problems at all. We're still keeping an eye on the battle between P7 and 8, which is, of course, Fernandez and Vidamari, so they're still going for it at the moment. No changes just as of yet, unfortunately. Still 0.4 seconds coming into the next lap now. We are on lap 50 with 22 minutes to go. Great racing thus far. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe if you are enjoying the action here. It's been great racing, and still a lot of DNFs. Down to 23 running cars, you can see on our board here. Suzuka shows no mercy, apparently. Luckily though, this is just a random one-off event here for us here at CFS. No championship points on the line. This battle though seems to be getting closer by the second. 0.3 seconds now, 0.2 seconds coming out of Spoon Curve. He's got the slipstream. Is he going to make a move down towards 130R is the question. Gaining some ground now as he enters the higher gears. No, he's backed out of that. You can hear him just lift off the gas there. So waiting for a better opportunity other than 130R, clearly. Went a bit wide. And still waiting for that opportune moment on the run down now towards turn 1. Gaining 0.2, 0.1 or just shy. He's really starting to close up onto the back end of his teammate there. Coming through the S's, nice and smooth. And 20 minutes remaining here, the final stages of this race. If Kelly wants to take the win here, he's got to start pushing now and extend that gap before he runs out of time. Going to start reading Lorenzo. Where's he going to be weaker? Where's the opportunity going to present itself? Does he run an inch too wide in this particular corner? He's going to be analysing that information as best he can, waiting to strike. Still 0.4 seconds between the two. Got a yellow flag out in sector 2. Seems to have cleared itself already, so someone's heading off somewhere. Got a battle going on between 7 and 8, 9 and 10. Two battles starting to emerge. That's Juan Carlos Fernandez and David Amari. They're still battling it out. And then you've also got Paul Roberts and Daniel Ersling in P9 and 10. So we'll keep an eye on them, but of course we have to keep eyes fixated on the lead in case someone decides to make a move between these two Wavestream esports drivers. Been dominating the race from the start. There's a lot of pressure applied from the Go Team Racing number 7 car. In the hands of Luigi Russo, but ever since they came out of their pits, it was just unfortunate. Go Team Racing didn't get off the line just as quickly, or maybe they took a few litres more of fuel. I'm not too sure what happened, but ever since that moment they've been able to pull away from the rest of the pack. And Georgi Nadev, who's currently behind the wheel now, is shy of about 8 seconds compared to our front running cars now, and they are just lap by lap slowly extending that lead, both hitting the 2 minutes 0.6. Raquelli last time by was 2 minute 0.7, so just 1/10 slower. But you know, next lap he may be a 10th faster. You just don't know. These guys are so consistent with one another. Now 0.3 seconds on the run down to Spoon Curve and sector 3. It's for the lead of the race, remember. On board with Raquelli as he makes ground. Risi got a better exit out of 130R, but here comes Raquelli under brakes, really nicely down through Casio Triangle, made up that lost ground there, back to 0.3 seconds once more. And now back on to the start finish straight, 0.2 seconds into 0.1 seconds. He closes up each and every time. Last time by, he was 0.1 seconds faster than Arisi. Still going faster than the previous lap though, 2 minutes 0.3, so they're both knocked off 0.3 seconds off their previous lap. really could not tell. If it wasn't for the information on the leaderboard, you would not be able to tell which was which. Their driving styles are so similar. Daniel Erstling's trying to attach himself to the back of Paul Roberts' McLaren for P9 in class. He's the second adrift at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on that as best we can as well. 15 minutes remaining till the end of this one though. On board with the killer again. He's lost a bit of ground this time by 0.5 seconds as they come across the start-finish line. Yeah, he's lost 2/10 over his teammate Lorenzo there. Nicely controlled into the apex of turn 1 as expected. Still within that striking distance at the moment, so he's doing everything he can to stay with him. I'd hate to know what the front tyres are doing right now. He must be suffering a lot more degradation than his teammate up ahead due to the dirty air. And we'll quickly switch over if we can, wait for them to go into a place where we know an overtake is unlikely to happen. And Paul Roberts holding off Daniel Ersling just for a moment here. 0.6 seconds between these two coming through Casio Triangle. Daniel Ersling for the F1 Bros Racing team doing all he can to catch up to the Sim Apex RT McLaren. They're just ahead entering turn 1 now. Doesn't look like he's going to have an opportunity just as of yet. In fact, that gap's extended to 1 second. Now back on board with Lorenzo Arisi. Last lap times for you, 2 minutes 2 and 2 minutes 2. There's 0.03 of a second between their lap times last time by. Oh, a bit of a mistake there from Arisi. Coming into the S's now. That's really closed the gap down. 0.2 seconds between the two. Maybe a few cracks starting to emerge here in the defence. He's led the race from lap 1. They've been playing the cooperative game since the start, just allowing themselves to pull away from the rest of the field. But now it's game on. 10 minutes, or just shy of 10 minutes left here, ladies and gents. I think you need to start placing your bets on this one. We could certainly make a bit of money off this battle because you could not put a piece of paper between these two guys. They are so well matched, evenly matched. Start placing your bets now about who's going to come out on top of this battle. In the meantime, we've still got that battle between Paul Roberts and Daniel Ersling. That's down to 0.5 seconds now. So we'll keep a close eye on that too. This one is slightly closer by a few tenths, so we'll keep an eye on the battle for the lead. And switching back to the two McLarens for a split second as they come down to turn 1, 0.3 seconds between them. Seems that Paul Roberts has a bit more confidence into turn 1, back to 0.3 seconds though. He's struggled to get the power back down for a moment there. Wow, Paul Roberts going really wide on the exit as they run down towards Degner Curve once more. 0.2 seconds between them. Back to our leaders though as they're coming through the S's once more. 0.3 seconds between them too. You really could not pick a place to look right now. There's two great battles unfolding in the last closing stages of this race. Kelly though is the closer of the two battles with 10 minutes remaining officially. Oh, a lot of curbage taken by Kelly there on turn 8. You saw the BMW bouncing up and down, really not happy about the situation. Surely now, with 10 minutes remaining, he needs to start really applying the pressure onto Lorenzo. It's so quiet up at this end of the circuit as well. They're pretty much on their own, able to focus on the job at hand. Not much traffic to worry about since they've all pretty much retired. 22 running cars. Might have been a different story if people had survived Suzuka's wrath, but looks like a lot of them have been picked out for murder. Really close up to the back end there as they come through Casio Triangle once more. Lap 56 completed by the two Wave Freemy Sports drivers there. Now, could this be the moment he's been waiting for? No, I don't think it will be. It's 0.3 seconds. They both had a bit of a rough journey through the curbing of the chicane. Unsettled both of the cars equally, so that gap didn't come down at all. Just taking a peep at all the other action that's unfolding. Quite large gaps between most of them, other than of course between P9 and 10. Georgi Nadev still holding on to that third position fairly confidently. It's 10 seconds adrift of the battle for the leaders. Cliff van der Veen has hold P4 pretty much from the start of the race after that amazing acceleration off the line. We could have a battle here between Paul Roberts and Daniel Erskine coming down towards 130R. The McLaren is right on the tail of that Simsports car, and he looks for a split second into 130R. Not quite able to make it work out though. I mean, 130R, in my opinion, I would never really make a move into 130R unless I was at least side by side, bonnet for bonnet, before the entry point. Because that way you knew that you was going to be equally in the wrong if things went sideways or, you know, quickly went wrong. But, you know, 130R, it's great for closing the gap as he looks down the inside into the first corner. Daniel Erskine there goes onto the curbing, loses a bit of ground as a result. Restabilised enough now to accelerate just in the nick of time. But yeah, in terms of 130R, really isn't a great place to make the overtaking move. I would rather wait, maintain that gap that you've gained from the slipstream, wait to the exit of Casio Triangle and then accelerate and make the move on the run down towards turn 1 as Kelly looks right just to have a little peep to see what's available. Nothing presented itself though. Look at the ground that he's made on the entry to turn 1, although Lorenzo makes it back again on the exit. Back towards this battle between the two McLarens for a split second, trying to keep an eye on both as best as we can. Con Roberts still hanging on, but only by 0.3 seconds. Daniel Erskine trying everything he can to get by. Closing stages, ladies and gents, 5 minutes remaining in a few seconds' time. And he's making the move down into the inside of Spoon Curve. Here comes F1 Bros Racing. It's a drag race down towards 130R. We've seen this many times already, this race. And who's going to be the one that comes out on top? This is for 9th place in class. Daniel Erstling is still by a hair's width behind the McLaren. Oh, and they've made contact. Now, why didn't Paul Roberts leave racing room there? He was way up the inside line. He could have easily compensated for him being there, but he just turned into the apex as if Daniel Erstling didn't exist. Which brings a very sad end to that battle. Yeah, that McLaren way up on the inside line. And here comes Raikkonen. No, he thinks better of it still. Coming into 130R. I mean, we've seen accidents at 130R all day. It's obviously renowned for that. It's very dangerous. It makes you think that you can go too wide there. But in all honesty, it's pretty much suicide unless you're alongside someone that knows what they're doing. But the F1 Bros racing car, Daniel Erstling, way up the inside sufficiently to have the right to be there, but just had the door shut on him quite aggressively. Maybe Roberts thought that he was going to let him by or back out at least, but that's not what happened. That just leaves the last remaining battle then. And penalties being given by race control. So there you go. The answer to that then. So the Sim Apex car.
10-second stop here penalty for Paul Roberts for causing a collision.
And that's the answer to your question there. So he did close the door too aggressively. And race controllers deem that fit for a penalty to be given. How's that going to affect his overall standing? It's currently sitting in P9. Daniel Erstling is still 3 seconds behind. So that's not a bad... well, he's going to still get the position that he was going for. But now Paul Roberts is going to lose out on the cars behind as well, because 18 seconds adrift is Andrew Parkinson. And of course that doesn't account for the journey down pit lane. So... not a good way to end this race. And he's got to serve that within the next 3 minutes as well, mind you, because they've issued that now. And he's only got another 2 laps to serve it, so he's got to really dive into pit lane straight away. Otherwise, yeah, I guess the server will disqualify him. In the meantime, Raikkonen still looking desperately for that opportunity against his teammate Lorenzo Arisi. Not able to open up the gap just yet. 0.4 seconds as he comes down onto start-finish straight. On board with Raikkonen. Closing the gap. We've got a blue flag car. Flash of headlights there, and they're both backing out of it. That's one of the... I think that's one of the Track VR Racing Aston Martins. Whereas Paul Holt, he's just coming through towards the hairpin now. It'll be interesting to see where he re-emerges. He's got to serve it this lap, because by the time he goes around once more, it will be the final lap. Oh, the 21 gets a bit hairy going through Degner Curve. You saw it bouncing all over the place. Raikkonen must be thinking, now's my opportunity. Can he make it stick though? That's the question. Lorenzo Arisi still hanging on in there for the lead of this race. Oh, and there's actually a battle between... Is this... No, this isn't a battle for position. That's a blue flag situation for Paul Roberts as he comes through 130R once more. Whoa, yeah, really pushing the limits of the Suzuka circuit. And go back to the battle for the lead just quickly as they come down to the long straight for what must be the penultimate lap now. The question is, does Roberts come in? Yes, he does. So he's serving that stop and go penalty now. In the meantime, Daniel Erstling goes back through. So that is served now. Back to the leaders once more. 0.3 seconds separating them into Casio Triangle. And now starting the final lap here, ladies and gents. The final lap. This is Raikkonen's last chance to take victory here at the 2 Hours of Suzuka. Not making a move into turn 1, so that's the most realistic overtaking opportunity that he's got, and he's let it go. Not close enough. Don't blame him for not making the move, but if he was going to make the move anywhere, it would have been on the run down to turn 1. Next opportunity that would realistically be available would be into the hairpin in sector 2, and then it's all about Spoon Curve, which of course is the entry to sector 3. He would need to set the car up nicely, maybe force Lorenzo into a defensive position, but I think maybe Lorenzo will be a bit too cunning, a bit too smart for that trick. Let's see what happens. Blue flag situation, nicely got out of the way. It's one of the Fair Racing Team cars, or maybe even Daniel Ersling, I think, just thinking, yep, I'm not getting involved in this. They've been at it for a long time now. And some of the options starting to run out. That was the hairpin just gone by. Riccelli still not able to make it stick. 0.4 seconds separating them as they come through sector 2. And it's all about this exit now. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Heavy on the throttle. And it looks like Lorenzo's got the better of him. The lead is extended. It's starting to come back down now. That initial acceleration was enough to defend that position from his teammate. Coming through 130R for the final time, ladies and gents. Lorenzo Risi seems to be the victor here. Last braking zone down into Casio Triangle. They've both been outstandingly good. Consistent drivers here from start to finish at Suzuka. And what a brilliant 1-2 victory here for Waveframe Esports. Down to the line at the checkered flag. They take home the victory here from the hours of darkness through to the early hours of the morning here. They've dominated from start to finish. Go Team Racing will come home in P3 as they come across the line there in the background. Georgi Nadev alongside his teammate Luigi Russo. They applied as much pressure as they possibly could, but effectively as soon as that pit stop was conducted, they lost out on that pace and they come home in P3. Cliff van der Ven, the unsung hero almost, because he's been in P4 from start to finish as well. Made a great start off the line in that reminiscent paint job from the GT2 Porsche from 1998 Le Mans 24 hours in real life. Didn't get much screen time, but he's been brilliantly racing just outside those top 3 positions himself. Let's just have a quick look at the results for you as they all start to retire to pit lane. Going back to page 1. So Lorenzo Risi is your victor here at the 2 Hours of Suzuka, ladies and gents. Andrea Riccelli for Waveframe Esports, a close second, just by 0.3 seconds in fact. Georgi Nadev takes it home in 3rd, and then Cliff van der Ven for Fair Racing Team in P4. Then we have Ilias Fernandez from DX Droids in the top 5, and then Borna for the Go Team Racing 13 BMW in P6. They had some great battles amongst the top 10 and are into the rest of the pack as well. P7 goes to Juan Carlos Fernandez for DX Droids as well, after that questionable dive bomb against Daniel Vidamari, who comes home in P8 for Drive Game Seat Racing. And then just outside is Daniel Ersling for F1 Bros Racing, followed by Tony Jansen for the Fair Racing Team, who rounds out those top 10 positions. Paul Holt in the Fair Racing Team Blue is in 11th place, followed by Paul Roberts, who comes home a respectable P12, of course with that contact with Daniel Ersling in the closing stages. Andrew Parkinson for Track VR Racing in P13, followed by Houdini Racing and Julian Munsters in 14th place. Colin Sanders in 15th, followed by Ben Corbin for Luffield Lunatics in 16th place. And then we have Leandro Lene with W3 Racing Team. It's the first time we've seen them. And Sebastian Lukazic for TCC Motorsports in 18th place. Then we've got Pavlo in 19th for Agila Racing, one of the stock cars here, hence why it's the only car that's visible on the question marks. And then Amiro Monachi for Houdini Racing in 20th place. Now we go into the long list of DNFs, but still running is Luigi Lorana for W3 Racing Team, and then McLaren, followed by Georgie Sorelli in the 22nd place car. And then unfortunately we have a long list of casualties going through from 23rd all the way to 36th. So unfortunately casualties do happen here, a lot more than expected considering it is only a 2-hour race. Thank God it's not what we usually do here at Chequered Simsports, which is typically 3 to 6 hour races. But that's it from us here at Chequered Simsports. I hope you have enjoyed the action as it's unfolded here. It's been spectacular to commentate on. We've seen the Hours of Darkness, which has been frankly fantastic. Loads of lights and flickering brakes and everything glowing in the darkness, all the way through the beautiful sunrise here at this Japanese gem. Really one of my favourite circuits. Not surprised, well, I'm fairly surprised we don't come here more often. But if you have liked the stream and you have liked the action, it's been brilliant, then give us a like and subscribe for more action. We will be hosting the World Sports Car Challenge in a few months' time, and that's currently undergoing registration phase. So if you don't want to miss the action as it unfolds there, best thing to do is give us a follow, and if you're watching via Facebook or Twitch, then like our page and join us on Discord, or go to our website for more information. That's it from us here in the commentary box. See you around and stay safe out there. Take it easy and good night.